You ready?
Yeah.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to your favorite podcast. You know the name of it. You know what it's called. So, Jason, I got the singing mic. Whoa, 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 whoa. You want to get on the singing mic?
Let me hear it a little bit more before.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
We got changed in Whitlock
In the house.
Okay, you know what? I'm not even going to. You don't know what's going on with the singing mic. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank this gentleman for coming to the podcast. One of my favorite sports debaters on probably arguably the best show in sports on television on Fox
Arguably.
Sports. Well, PTI is still on.
Oh.
You know what? You right there with them, but Mr. Jason Whitlock. So thank you for coming to
Thank you for having me. I
Thanks
appreciate
for coming
it.
on Riffin with Griffin. Yeah, so we was just talking. Yeah, the podcast game is like,
Next thing. It's a way to support yourself independently. I have so much respect for the people that do it. And the payoff, if you have the stick-to-itiveness, can be amazing.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet because I don't got two people helping me out and all this stuff. It's just me, but I know exactly what you're saying. I mean, I've seen like people grow. Like I did Joe Rogan's podcast. I know you know who that is.
Yeah,
Joe?
of course. Uh-huh.
Yeah, Joe. Like he has a building. With like
Adam Carolla.
I did Corollas too.
He's got a huge setup.
Yeah.
I saw a guy, Dave Rubin, who's more into the political realm, but he went from something to now when you go to his studio, it's incredible. It looks like a television studio. And when you watch it on the air, it's like, this has got to be shot at a major network. But it's people that have that spirit of industriousness and just like, I'm going to do for myself. And if they stick with it long enough and do a good enough job, it can really grow into something special.
Yeah, it sure can. Like for instance, like your show. Your show is see that segue?
Yeah, absolutely.
Your show, Speak for Yourself. It's on Fox Sports. Comes on every day at noon Pacific time. I watch it every day. I tape it every day because I tape all. There's only two. I tape 3 shows if I'm being honest. I tape First Take, which I don't watch all the time because it's so long. It's 2 hours.
Yep.
And then sometimes it's like they just get going on stuff that I'm like, okay, I don't want to hear about this. And then PTI, it's only 30 minutes, so I watch that one. And then you're those are my 3 in the rotation. But the ones I religiously watch are PTI and your show.
I appreciate that. We have more to offer over at FS1. I hope you expand your horizon and take a look at some of the other things we have to offer. But I certainly appreciate the support of our show.
I remember seeing you. You used to be on ESPN, and I started
PTI.
tweeting at you back in the day when you were like a guest host on PTI.
Yeah, I was actually I was the first guest host ever on PTI.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
back when they first started out.
They said when they started taking vacations.
Yes, I was the first guest host, and Tony and Mike took very good care of me early in my career.
Yeah.
Eric Rydholm, that produces that show, took very good care of me early in my career. They launched, I can't, let me take that back. I was on the Sports Reporters first on Sundays, but in terms of this daily television sports debate thing, Tony Kornheiser and Mike Wilbon are the guys that put me down.
Yeah, they're like the gold standard for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so you've been a sports writer. Because you've been a journalist. I don't even want to say sports writer. You've been a journalist for like how long now?
I graduated Ball State in 1990. May of 1990, got my first job as a sports writer, I think in September of 1990, and have been doing that ever since. My first job, Eric, I love to tell people, $5 an hour.
Oh, wow.
As a part-time sports writer at the Bloomington Herald-Times. And so I definitely, through the sports writing game, work my way up the totem pole.
You sure did. Now, my thoughts about sports journalism is that I feel like it's like if you go to a restaurant and you ask the waiter, how's the pie? And they're supposed to be like, I wouldn't get the apple pie today, but they shouldn't trash the whole restaurant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like in sports journalism, like, when they're trying to tear down, an athlete, tear down the sport, I kind of feel like, hey, you need this sport to be thriving. So how do you balance that?
Well, I certainly, if you watch my show, I'm very protective of the NFL.
Yeah, you sure are.
Football was my pathway out of poverty, out of the hood. No one was coming to look for me as an 18-year-old kid other than football coaches. I wasn't the greatest student. And so I'm very protective of football. The individuals within football, I could care less about.
Gotcha.
And I don't want to say that like I have it in for those guys or whatever, because they do. The players actually make up the game. But I'm most interested in protecting the game. The players will come and go in that. And again, you got to remember, Eric, I'm a critic.
Yeah, yes.
That's my job. I'm a critic. I review things. That's what, when I got a columnist job in 1994 in Kansas City, my job was to be a sports columnist and basically a sports critic. And so, when you're a critic, you criticize.
Right. Yeah.
And so, when I was in Kansas City, oh my God, Carl Peterson, the general manager of the Chiefs, he probably thought I was the devil because I found ways to criticize. Yeah, I found ways to criticize him and the mistakes he made. And, Marty Schottenheimer at times. But look, I'm not opposed to and do celebrate even the people I criticize. Carl Peterson, when things went well, I was a big champion. When they went poorly, I was a critic. But you we were talking off the air, and I guess we'll get there now. You ask my philosophy as a journalist and as a broadcaster now, where's it come from? And it mostly just comes from I said as a kid when because I became a sports fan, one from playing, but also I was a huge Indiana Pacer fan. And the Pacers, when I was a kid, were horrible. They had just joined the NBA. They were one of the worst franchises in all of sports. They once had a telethon to save the franchise.
Oh, my God.
They were asking. And so I would read the Indianapolis newspapers. There were two of them at that time, the Star and the Indianapolis News in the afternoon. And they covered the team as if they were the Boston Celtics and contending for championships every year. And it drove me crazy as a sports fan. I was like, whoa. What are you doing? I want the people ruining my team held accountable.
Gotcha.
They're doing dumb things that are ruining my team, and no one in the media will question them. And as a kid, I said to myself, I was like, oh, man, they worried about the coaches and the executives and the players more than me, the fan, and the reader of the newspaper. And so when I switched my major to journalism at Ball State, one of the main things I said was, I'm never going to forget the fan and the reader. And it was simple math for me. I was like, I'd look at, the Indianapolis Star has 500,000 subscribers. The Indiana Pacers have 12 or 13 guys on their team. They have 2 or 3 coaches, handful of executives at that time. I was like, there's like 20 of them, and there's 500,000 readers. Who am I going to try to please?
Right.
That 500,000
right.
or these 20 people over here? And I just thought, simple math. I'm going to go for the 500,000. I'm going to keep it real with them, try to entertain them, try to tell them what I really think. And I won't worry about those 20 people. And, so now they've got NBA teams have 8 assistant coaches and 15 players. So there's like 35 people you got to worry about.
But you still don't care.
Yeah, them 35, they're getting paid well. It's not my job to please them. it's my job to try to please and entertain a mass audience.
I agree, and I think you're doing a good job at that. You're a truth teller for sure, and you are, I watch the show enough to like get the nuances of the things that you're doing, which I think is what people miss when they try to criticize. They just want to criticize you for being like, why are you so hard on this person or that person? But like the other day on the show, when you were talking about the NFL and like sticking up for the NFL when Antonio Brown was saying that the NFL is racist, and like you really have a passionate opinion about this generational wealth that these black players are getting from the NFL, and for them to just trash it so willy-nilly, that means something to you.
It's crazy because many of us that were delivered from poverty through football, many of us probably weren't going to be doctors and lawyers.
Right.
And many of us, if not for football taking us to a college campus and opening our eyes to all the possibilities the world has to offer, we might still be right in our same neighborhoods, doing nothing or next to nothing. I would probably be running my dad's bar if not for, and again, I love Masterpiece Lounge. My dad's bar is one of my favorite places on earth, but I'd probably be running that bar and making $70,000, $80,000 a year as opposed to what I'm doing now because of football. And I just think these guys need to be very careful. And if they really understood, we have this affinity for hip hop that is a bit misplaced. And again, I like hip hop music. I listen to it, but it does denigrate us. It does denigrate black women. It does portray us as buffoons. But we're so loyal to it because a handful of guys have made millions of dollars in the hip hop industry. Well, damn near every NFL team creates more black millionaires a year than anything that's going on in the hip hop industry.
Yeah.
And
probably just one team. I think one team in the last 10 years has probably made more millionaires than the history of hip hop.
Yeah. I wouldn't go the history, but
I mean, if you think you talk about there's 52 players, maybe 20 of them are become millionaires. You talk about every single year, every 3 years. I'm talking in the history of say the Raiders. you know what I mean? How many black players have become millionaires in the Raiders, and compared to like what?
No question about it. No, and so I just want to ask these players, like, you do realize for black men in particular, and particularly for masculine, heterosexual, Christian black men, I don't know if there's an industry better than football in terms of providing us an opportunity to make life-changing wealth. Mm-hmm. And I think we need to be protective of that. It has done more for us, far more, than hip-hop. And I say the same thing about the basketball, but the numbers impacted by football are so great that I think we're foolish with our attack on football and NFL ownership and blah. And so, again, I ask people a lot of times, like, are you really pro-black or are you pro-liberal politics?
There's a difference.
Because there's a major difference. It's like, if you're pro-black, like, wow, the NFL, wow, y'all doing some things. I get it. And if you're pro-liberal, maybe you have problems with the values instilled in football and things like that. But if you're just like, hey, I'm pro-black, find me the industry that's better than football.
Yeah, and then in all of the professional sports that go down with that. I'm also interested, like, when you're very hard on LeBron James, mm-hmm. But again, I know what you're a critic. He's the top of the mountain. He could take the criticism, but does it have anything to do with how you came up? Why you seem to be like, sometimes I feel like you extra hard on LeBron.
Well, it's when LeBron was getting, can we cuss on here?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Shitted on.
Yeah. Do you?
Yeah. When he was getting shitted on when he left Cleveland with the decision.
Yeah.
I was one of the few people that defended LeBron James and defended Maverick Carter when people were calling him a clown in the aftermath of the decision. And so for me, if you stick with me long enough, I'll go from
Yeah, you flip flopper
to critic to defender to critic. It just depends on the situation. There's a handful of people that I'm not honest about in sports, and generally speaking, it's people like Jeff George, who I grew up with.
Yeah, you talk about Jeff George a lot.
So I don't give my full unadulterated opinion on Jeff George because I actually know him, know his family. There's a real affinity and connection between Jeff George and I. And so I let people know, okay, when Brady Hoke was the coach at Michigan, Brady Hoke played football at Ball State where I played. I helped him when he was the head coach at Ball State. So, and hey guys, don't come to me for the truth on Brady Hoke when he's the head coach at Michigan. I'm going to let you know that he played at Ball State. I have a bye. Everybody else, pretty much. I mean, because Magic Johnson's my favorite player, favorite athlete of all time.
And you've been hard on him in the last 6 months.
But what are
you supposed to do? Yeah, I agree.
Again, and so I think where LeBron and I have gotten crossways, to be quite honest with you, is that my point of view about sports, about male masculinity, I'm just not into victimhood at all. Mm-hmm. If you're a healthy grown man, I don't believe you're capable really of being a victim. Now, let me walk that back because everybody's capable of being victimized.
Everybody can be victimized.
Everybody can be victimized.
But you don't got to act like a victim.
Yes. But I just think if you're a healthy grown man, don't come to me looking to show me your victimhood. I just wasn't raised that way. My father is the blackest person I ever knew. And he passed away 3-4 years ago. But his whole existence was black. And I love to hear all these people on Twitter and all these super elite, wealthy black people, and they think they so black. And I go, you ain't blacker than my father. Because
I need some Twitter off. I don't got no Twitter off here.
And so, my father experienced some things in America that were really disturbing and upsetting. His solution always was, Jimmy Whitlock's going to correct this. He's going to build him a business in the black community. He built a brand new home in the black community. His existence was black, and he found happiness right here in America. He wasn't running around asking, feel sorry for me. I can't believe my boss at Chrysler told me not to read the autobiography of Malcolm X. And that's what happened. He's a factory worker at Chrysler. His boss said, hey, man, you reading the autobiography of Malcolm X? And so my father's reaction wasn't like, oh, that's terrible. I can't believe he did. He's, okay, I'm gonna leave here and build my own business. Ain't a damn soul gonna tell me what I can and cannot read. So he went into business for himself. That's just my mentality.
Yeah.
And all this victimhood that I hear from black men or whatever, it's a little too feminine for me. And it's self-defeating. I don't think it's the way to advance. Because take the show I do on Fox Sports 1. Most the stereotypical woke black people on Twitter, or who are the bots or whatever they've trained to say the stuff they say over Twitter, would be like, man, you could never have a black show on Fox Sports. Rupert Murdoch, he's racist.
Yeah.
It could never happen. Whitlock got a black show on Fox Sports. Damn. It's him, Marcellus, it's Darnell, it's Uncle Jimmy, and damn, look at all them black athletes. What? They still racist.
People will find a way.
Yeah. And it's just, and so you'd be surprised what you can do if you set your mind to it and don't make a bunch of excuses and just put your head down and be a rock solid, dependable person. You'd be surprised who will invest in you and support your vision if you conduct yourself properly.
I think you're doing a great job at that. I do like like I said, I like the show a lot. And when Marcellus first came on the show, I felt like he was like, I got to debate. Like, he was like, I'm debating you. Like, whatever you would say, he would be like, you wrong. And then he would like, he would come with it. Like, But the groove that you guys are in right now is just like, it's such great television to watch. And I love most of the guys that you have on the show. Like TJ Huzmanzada, he is fantastic. I talk about this with Frank Caliendo. We both talk about your show a lot. So like, He's great. Tony Gonzalez is great. Even Steven Jackson, who gets on my nerves sometimes.
Love Steven Jackson.
But Steven is like, he is right where he's honest about what he feels about things. And all the athletes, even though sometimes I feel like these athletes don't understand the position that they were in. They've been so entitled for so long that they have these weird opinions. Because, like, for instance, with LeBron James, for instance, like, I think when we finish and we look at LeBron's career, in the totality of his career, when we give us 3 years away from his retirement, we're going to look back and be like, this could have been better.
No question about it. And that's part of what I'm pointing out and trying to analyze. Again, I'm not into tearing down LeBron. I am into analyzing LeBron.
Right. Which sometimes is translated into tearing him down by people watching.
It's really not. It's really just like I'm trying to – LeBron James has been a child star, basically.
Yeah. His whole
ever
life.
Since about age 14. And if you look at what happens to child stars, Eric, you're out here in Hollywood.
Yeah, I know.
And a lot of them have a hard time holding on to their sanity.
Yeah.
Being famous and being famous as a child and being catered to as a child does some things to you. And that's what I think we're dealing with LeBron James. Everybody has this mentality as it relates to LeBron, like, oh my God, he grew up poor. And I was like, yeah, for about 10, 11 years.
Yeah.
And then once they discovered, like, oh, my God, this guy's a generational talent, there was a bunch of grown men and women that rushed into Akron to make sure we got to get this dude to age 18 and into the NBA because there's a big pot of gold. And so LeBron James has been catered to much longer, twice as long as he lived in poverty.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you've been catered to, it changes you in many, many ways that are not good. And he's done a good job, but he hasn't been perfect. And I think the Lakers are dealing with a guy that's 34, 35 years old, has spent the last 23, 24 years being catered to. And it's difficult for them to deal with. And I think if you look around at the way the other NBA players are reacting to LeBron right now, a lot of them see it, understand. It's like, nah, I'm good. I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah. Well, I think also it's because, like, he's at the tail end.
Yeah.
Like, so now people are starting to, like, now they're going to start pointing out, like, because you're as a professional athlete, you're only as good as your talent lets you be. So people are only going to deal with your nonsense if you're still got a 55-inch vertical and you can like hit 3-pointers. Because once that starts to wane, people are kind of like, yo, man, you kind of got an attitude.
There's no question. And listen, the point you made about looking in retrospect and going like, oh, man, did he get everything out of this?
I don't think so.
It's the same question people ask about Wilt Chamberlain when it was over.
You know what?
And sometimes when you're born with so much talent, it's too much.
I totally agree with you. Talent without having self-awareness, right?
But no, too much talent can stop you from having self-awareness.
Right, exactly. Because I even feel this way. Even people that have been successful, like when I look at Kobe Bryant, I'm a Kobe Bryant hater.
Oh,
I am, but I love his game. You know what I mean? Like I love to hate Kobe Bryant. That's how I've been my whole. That's why I'm a Clippers fan. But like even with Kobe, I feel like if he would have done 2 years of college, a year of college, and if he would have been able to learn how to be a teammate with other people, because he was catered to his whole life too.
Yeah,
he was a rich kid, and I can speak 5 languages. I know better. I think that it's not that he still would have ended up with Shaq because it probably would have been different, but I think he would have been a different player. So even someone like that who had a phenomenal career, I still think that he made some missteps.
No question
that he would have been even greater than he was.
You're making a point I've never thought about. Had Kobe spent 2 years in college, he would have surpassed Michael Jordan.
Oh,
that's the argument you're making.
Yes.
And people don't understand the reason why. I go back to Michael Jordan either legitimately or created the myth in his mind that he got cut as a sophomore.
Right.
And
he created enemies.
Yeah. But not just that. It speaks to the fact, and you got to remember, Michael Jordan was the 3rd pick in the draft. Uh-huh. And so what that says, like, oh, they thought there were some guys with more talent, the taller guys, because
a safer bet.
Yeah, basketball is a game that caters to the taller guys, and so Michael Jordan again, it sounds crazy to say it, but he didn't have all the perfect physical gifts that LeBron has.
Yeah.
Or he wasn't such a over-the-top talent like Wilt Chamberlain and LeBron were. And so he worked on some things. Remember, Jordan wasn't a great outside shooter, worked on that.
Yeah.
I just think sometimes a really gifted person with a flaw or two is better. And if you look at Tom Brady, 6th-round pick, and what has driven him and what has made him have self-awareness, I think it's his shortcomings. And I get your point about Kobe Bryant is one I'm telling you I'd never thought of, Eric. But yet, had Kobe spent a couple years in college,
I think it would have changed his perspective. I think
Yes.
he would have been a better teammate. He wouldn't have done that thing to Shaq. He wouldn't have See, the thing is like, now this is what I say about LeBron James. I think LeBron James is so good. He is so great that even when he is not doing the things that, say, Jordan did to make himself, he's still better than everybody.
Yes.
And he's like, well, why? Maybe subconsciously it's like, look at me. Look what I'm doing.
Well, I'll tell you the other thing that happened to LeBron James, and this is not trying to beat up on him, it's just trying to explain him, is when you grow up the way that he did, no relationship with his dad, a mother that was, not perfectly ideal, LeBron had to rely on LeBron James at a very early age.
Yeah, he sure did.
LeBron had to be the man of his house and his own mommy and daddy at a very early age. And in LeBron's mind, I don't blame him for reaching the conclusion, I'm the only person I can count on.
Yeah.
And so when I get on a team and I look around and there's a coach that wants to do this or do that, or a teammate that wants to do this, LeBron's like, no, trust me, I got this. Let's do it my way. My way brought me out of Akron with no dad and a mom that was, not perfectly ideal. And it got me all the way here. And look, I've won 3 championships and I made all this money. How can my way be wrong?
Right.
Where if he had the proper support, been in some other team environments, I think he would be able to submit himself to the will of others.
To me, he would have surpassed them all.
Yes.
He just would have been like, to me, I don't even mind even right now, as the state of where it is right now. If you want to argue that LeBron James is the best player ever, I'll listen to that argument and I'll be like, okay, maybe I agree or disagree, but it's a legit argument, right? That's how great he is.
Yep.
And I'm saying, like, this is why I get mad at, like, at some of the guys you have on the show because these professional athletes, when they start talking, I think to myself, you know what? You guys aren't qualified to run a $13 billion business, because what's best for LeBron James and his family may not be what's best for the entire league. And so now this day and age, the league is going, hey, listen, we paying you $35 million. You can live in Cleveland. You can live in Milwaukee. You can live in Minnesota. You can live in wherever the hell we put you. Because this ain't 1965 where you have to take a bus, and play 7 back-to-back games. Nah, man, you living like a king till you're 37, and then you can do what you want for the rest of your life. But for now, I need you to, like, help the league out more than you helping out your family.
There's no question, and it's a struggle sometimes on the show where I try to push the athletes to go, hey, man, you got to take a step back and just not look at everything from the athlete's point of view.
Yeah, they sure do.
What about the fans?
Yeah, man.
What about the ownership? What about just there's so many other elements to sports, and it's fine to let's examine the athlete's perspective, but let's also try to look at things from other people's perspective. And sometimes that's hard. And look, it's easy for me because I was a mediocre college athlete, became a journalist. And so I've now been a journalist for much longer than I was an athlete.
Right.
And being a journalist is
a better journalist than you were an athlete.
A better journalist than I was an athlete. That's not a knock.
I know.
Because I'm a really good journalist.
Yeah.
But and so when you start looking at things journalistically, you have to look at things much broader, and you have to, here's what the athletes think, here's what ownership thinks, here's what the coach thinks, here's what fans think, and you got to factor that all in, and you got to write stories and think about things and talk about things from that point of view. And a lot of the athletes just haven't had to do that. And so I get where your frustration and struggle is from, but again,
it's still great,
because I'm going to tell you what you said about what's transpiring with the show is like Marcellus is so smart, and he's heard me push that angle a lot of like, hey man, let's take a step back and look at everything. He's doing that, and it's elevating the conversation.
Well, you know what's happening with Marcellus is he is starting to have a longer career as a television host, journalist himself, a TV, than he had as a football player. You know what I mean? And then so he's starting to like, because I love Marcellus. You guys together, it's just great. I love the Whitlocks. They come in hard. Sometimes it's like real hard, and then you go, Marcellus, what do you think? And then I love when he just goes, I disagree, and then he says his point, and then you guys have a thing, and that's great. But like I say though, these athletes that come on, I don't think this era of the NBA right now, we're going to look back on it, and we're not going to look back on it fondly, because what we've missed out on is starting with, we had Oklahoma City. They're playing the Golden State Warriors, and there's this epic battle. A team comes back from 3-1, and you think, wow, they're going to fight it out in the Western Conference for years to come. Kevin Durant makes the weakest decision a superstar can ever possibly make. It says a lot about it. It's like, I get it. It's like, why not? I'm making $35 million, and why should I work hard? You know what I mean? Let me go do this. So he goes and does that, and now we don't get that rivalry. That rivalry's now dead. Then we get this epic Golden State-Cleveland rivalry, and even though it wasn't a real rivalry, it's just a testament to how great LeBron James is. The only reason why we even thought, well, maybe, could he possibly? When we look back on it, we're like, they had no chance of beating them once they got Kevin Durant, but we still thought maybe LeBron can do it. We had that. Now that's gone, right? Now that's out of here. And that's all that it is now. And it just no.
What I will say though, Eric,
I hate it.
I agree, but what I will say, Eric, is I think the current athletes have figured it out.
Oh, this is. I blame ownership. Like, they need to like scrap the whole thing and start over.
No. But
I'm talking about like the collective bargaining and all
that. I agree with you. That's
okay. What do you mean? Tell me.
But what I mean is, I think Kawhi Leonard and this decision he just made is like, no. Screw LeBron James. I'm coming to your house and I'm gonna fight you in your house. I really believe that.
No, I agree with you on that. But see, that I think Kawhi Leonard has a certain level of like competitiveness in him.
Yeah.
But even still, listen, he missed a free throw that would have got him 2 championships. Okay, he would have taken a championship away from LeBron if he had hit a free throw. That game was over. They had the thing set up.
Gotcha. Yep.
Okay, so even he's on this load management in Toronto, and then he was like, okay, now I'm going to come. It's like, I don't like, even though I'm a Clipper fan, I don't like his choice.
You don't like him coming to the Clippers?
I love him coming to the Clippers as a Clipper fan. As an overall NBA fan, I think, why not stay in the East and dominate the East the way LeBron did for years to come?
Because, he made it clear he wanted to come home to L.A. But I think, given there's steps to getting back to reality and steps to getting back to the old competitive spirit, and I think Kawhi just took a major step towards that. And so if he comes to LA and makes the Clippers a championship team, given the Clippers' history, it's going to be one of the most amazing stories in all of sports. And if he does it while also undermining the last 2 or 3 years of LeBron's career, it's an even more incredible story. And if that happens, I think you'll see other dominoes, because what Kevin Durant did was follow LeBron's blueprint. LeBron went down to Miami to chase titles, and so Kevin Durant took it to the next step. I'll go to the already champion 73-win team to chase title. If Kawhi has success here, the next generation of players are going to want to do it the Kawhi way and get that respect that Kawhi is going to get.
I hear you, but it's not that difficult of a choice. Like, let's say it had nothing to do with LeBron James, okay? If you look at the Lakers and the Clippers, and you're just trying to decide between the two, and you realize that this whole myopic feeling about the Lakers is like it's not warranted after, because in the last 10 years they have not been good.
Right.
You look at the Lakers, you go, Magic left. He comes in, leaves.
It's a circus.
It's a circus over there. They got a coach that they got Jason Kidd sitting on the bench. You got this coach, Frank Vogel, who was run out of the league. He can't even get a job, right? You got the guy that everybody hates. What's his name? The GM that all the other agents Pelinka. So if you're a Kawhi Leonard, you got that, or you got the dude that's got $50 billion, a championship coach, a team that's like ready-made. They took the Golden State Warriors with Kevin Durant to 6 games. They got cap space. They
incremental steps.
I know, but I'm just saying
nothing happens overnight.
Which team would you pick?
Excuse me?
But I'm saying, which team would you pick between the Lakers and Clippers?
The Clippers.
Yeah. By the way, LeBron should have picked the Clippers.
Probably, but again, LeBron's ego and things like that at the time. But I don't have a problem. I think Kawhi has taken the league a step in the right direction. I think this season of NBA play is going to be amazing and interesting.
I agree.
And I think the following season, when Kevin Durant comes back, it's going to be even more interesting. And then I think that I'm hopeful and prayerful that Zion Williamson is going to be 260 pounds this year, and I think he's going to be a force of nature. And I think that Zion Williamson is the guy that will play his whole career in New Orleans. And I think he's really going to be the next I hope and pray, the next superstar in the NBA.
I hope that happens too, because he's such an explosive player, but I'm 50-50 on it, because we've seen that before. I mean, he looks like Blake Griffin. I mean, Blake Griffin was that explosive in college. No, man, he was that explosive in college. No. We're just forgetting how he was jumping over people.
How can you go to Blake Griffin? Why wouldn't you go to Charles Barkley?
Because Charles Barkley was way better than Zion Williamson. I mean, it's not even close. It's not even close. Just in terms of his speed, his just his power that Charles Barkley played with. I don't see Zion Williams as Charles Barkley yet. And then Charles Barkley.
He's only 19, but go ahead.
I agree, but then that's why I'm saying it's iffy. We'll see what he does. Let's see his work ethic. Let's see what he does in his rookie year, and it's going to be hard in the West. But I just hope that. But look, Blake Griffin's a great player. I love Blake Griffin. You know what I mean? He changed the culture.
An insult to call him great.
I think Blake Griffin is he was just as explosive. He was that kind of player. He was jumping over people and doing all that stuff. Because if you take the dunking,
Blake Griffin played college basketball, right?
Yeah.
2 years, right?
Yeah, he was at Oklahoma.
For 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for 2 years. And Zion was there for 1 and created a circus and an excitement and an energy.
It was needed.
That I understand that Blake Griffin didn't remotely do at Oklahoma.
But coming out.
And I know Oklahoma is different than Duke, but go ahead.
It's a lot different than Duke. And then they also didn't win. There's been a lot of great players at Duke that have been great at Duke that went on to win national championships who are sucking a bag in the NBA right now.
No question.
So we'll see. But I'm hopeful too, because he seems like a good guy. He's got a great smile. He's got a great attitude. We want him to be good. And that's the thing about when you look at professional athletes, it's like when they first come in, we have these hopes and we want them to live up to those expectations. Problem is, half of them don't live up to the expectations.
Well, that's anything. That's
I know, but that's
your girlfriend, your wife, your kids,
your co-workers, your family. Oh man, look, see that? Blake Griffin knew we was talking about him. This is my Blake Griffin little bobblehead doll fell. See what you did? He knows we talking about him. Okay. I mean, like I say, I enjoy the show and all the athletes you have on the show, and I feel like you get into some of them. Because as I've been watching the show, I feel like they have grown from the experience. Like I say, I mentioned again, TJ Huzmanzada is just great. I think he has grown in the experience to where he's I'm ready for his opinion.
Well, here's what I think is happening on the show and why we're in such a good place is that social media has had such a negative impact on the mainstream media. And what I and we have tried to do with Speak for Yourself is create an environment where you can be really honest without paying a price. And so how that happens is that I'm always going to be the bad guy. And so it doesn't matter what you say on this show, I'm going to take the heat for it. And I'm good with it. And so that liberates everybody else to be more honest. I think if you look across the board at a lot of the media, they're so concerned with Twitter backlash that they compromise what they say. I'm so unconcerned
Same
with
thing
it.
in comedy, man.
Yes. Yeah. I'm so unconcerned with it and have tried to create an atmosphere on the show and just room for everybody to be themselves. And part of that is Uncle Jimmy plays a role in that. His comedy pushes the envelope so far that it creates room for us to crack jokes.
Yeah.
There's like, well, how can you be mad at that joke Whitlock cracked? Did you hear what Uncle Jimmy said? And so
you made a shield for you.
Yes, literally, I'm pushing boundaries and just trying to get us back to reality. Because again, I'm like, how could Dave Chappelle be that celebrated during the Dave Chappelle show and be he's one of the greatest comedians ever. He's the new Richard Pryor. And then we get 5, 7, 8 years away from his show, and you couldn't air his show right now.
I know, it's crazy. Like you do talk about social media a lot, and I'm with you on this 100%. I think that with all the things that have been going on in society right now, Me Too, the Kaepernick nonsense, and all that stuff is like, so now people are just like ready, they're ready. But I'm a believer that the Twitter universe, that's not what people really think.
Not at all.
It's not even like middle America could care less about what's going on Twitter. It's just these like entitled liberal fucks that live on the coast sides, with their pretentious attitudes, the ones that are far left, not the good ones. You know what I mean? Like the people that are like more moderate, the people that that know the nuance in things. It's these people on the either side that actually are these people that like overly sensitive, too angry, and then anything they see, they want to turn it into it's Nixon or something. You know what I mean?
I don't know how y'all work.
Watergate.
I don't know how y'all work in comedy now, because most of the shit that I think is funny, you couldn't say right now.
I know, man. Well, this is what they're doing. They're at the comedy clubs now. Quite a few of them now are taking the cell phones and locking them up. You have to put them in a thing to watch the show. It's just like, can we experience this? It's like at a comedy show, I just want to be like, can we just have this moment and keep it here? No, they want to I had this experience where I was out at Kentucky or someplace like that. I think it was Kentucky, and so I'm ending the show. I got the landing gear out. I'm about to come in for a landing. We did it. Good night. Drunk girl in the front row starts acting up, and she's just going at me for no reason. I don't know why. I take out my phone and I start taping her. Shouldn't have done that, because that made everybody else tape. Now in the middle of the taping, she tries to hit the phone out of my hand. From the back, it looks like she hit me. A week later, I get an email from TMZ. Erik, we running with this story about how that heckler hit you. And I'm like, what? So it's like, so that's how, so it couldn't just stay, we couldn't just have this moment. It was like people we have to share this with everyone. And now it's out of context.
Yes.
It's out of context. And when it's out of context, people put their own context on it, and then they re-put that on the internet. And now all of a sudden it's like a wildfire that just burns, but it doesn't even burn for that long because people forget, and then they move on to the next thing.
But what could happen is some comedy club owner could pick it up over social media and then just say, you know what? It's better not to have Erik. I don't even want to deal with it.
Yeah.
I know he didn't do anything wrong, but why deal with the headache? Everybody's making that weak choice. That, oh my God, let's just cancel that and not have to deal with the controversy, not have to think through, defend this. It's not worth the headache. It's not worth the little Twitter lynch mob. And I'm so prayerful. Just let this go away, man. If these executives would just wake up. Because I've been saying, do you remember when Sharknado came out? That had to be 3-4 years ago now, maybe longer. And I can remember it was trending all over Twitter. Sharknado. And then the ratings came out and no one watched it. and I started tweeting in. I was like, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's not
Twitter's
real.
not reality.
Yeah.
No, and again, I'm not even going to put a name on this, but I don't mean to be offensive towards the person that somebody will watch and they'll know who I'm talking about. But there's some people that have 3, 4, 5 million Twitter followers, and then they launch a television show and they struggle to get 100, 200,000 people to watch. So they don't have 3 or 4 million followers.
Right.
I don't know what they have, but they're not followers.
Well, see, what you can look at, this is what I do. Like, if you look at somebody's following, let's say they have 1 million followers, they put up a tweet and it has 3,000 likes, that's their following. That's the engagement.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have 1 million followers and like you're not getting 1 million likes, then what does it really mean? You know what I mean? That's what you really have to look at. You just have to look at your engagement. Like, who's listening, who's looking at it, So they have some of these analytics they like to show, like on Instagram. They'll show you 23,000 people saw this, but only this many people liked it. So it's really about the engagement. So the more the merrier. I mean, social media, look, it's a tool. It's a tool, but it should not be used as a
destructive one, in my view.
It can be, but in the same way that anything can be destructive if used the wrong way.
You can drink too much water.
Yeah, you can drink too much water. Yeah, you could drown on some water. You know what I mean. But so I know you have strong opinions about Twitter, and it's especially with some of the things that have gone on. I'm 100 with you on the Kaepernick situation. I even talked about it on my last comedy special. About kneeling at work, like you at work, okay? You're at work. If I owned a Starbucks and one of my employees was doing something, some sort of protest, and it's turning away my customers, I would be like, hey, the police station? It's down the street.
Go kneel there.
Why don't you go over there and kneel there? Like, he easily could have called a press conference and be like, I'm going to be out in front of City Hall and I want to talk about this. And then I would have been with it 100%. But how lazy is it that you're going to do it at your job?
Well,
just because you have a TV audience?
Because it was always about his anger about the way the 49ers treated him. It was never about alleged police brutality. But I hear a lot of people that get upset that, well, the NFL should allow that and they're denying him his rights and this is proof they're racist. And it's really just proof they're business people. Because take my father, again, owned a neighborhood tavern in Indianapolis in the hood. If he had an employee that was doing something that was irritating 3% of his customers,
just 3%,
he would put a stop to it.
Yeah.
And so if what Kaepernick was doing was irritating 2 to 3% of the NFL's customer base, they have every right to stop that.
Yeah.
And anybody, and I listen to people's reaction, and I'm just like, they've never owned a business. Nor should they ever own one.
The NFL's not publicly run. You know what I mean? It's not like the post office, you know what I mean? The DMV and the NFL's run by the government. So we're allowed to fall under no, this is one of those, we reserve the right to serve who we want. And we have our own rules amongst our employees. And I just don't have any problem with that. But again, people love jump into racism. They love jump into going back to the beginning, what you were talking about, this victimhood, finding it. They like to find how, can it be translated a different way? If it can, let's find out what that is. And then maybe find a middle ground, find out where you may have been wrong.
Well, what I concern myself most with, it's poison for young people. I'm 52 years old. And when you get this age, you start realizing, like, damn, life goes by quick. And so if you spend all of your 20s looking for your victimhood and looking for safe spaces and looking for people that offend you, if you're losing a lot of time that you could be out doing things to empower yourself, to empower the people around you, to put yourself in a position where any of these injustices won't affect you or your family. If you're just running around trying to scrub every white person's feeling or opinion you disagree with, scrub that away, that's time you're not investing in yourself and in the people that matter most to you, hopefully your friends and family. And so I just think we're filling our young people with a poison that's going to be self-destructive and put them behind their competitors. Because for the most part, young white people are not running around trying to fix black people. We're running around trying to fix white people.
Right.
That's counterproductive.
Yeah.
Let them fix themselves.
Yeah.
It's Eric, you and I both have weight problems.
Yeah.
I'm going to worry most about mine. I'm going to try to do something about mine.
Why you got to drag me in your shit? How dare you?
I'm not worried about yours.
I was going to see if you want to get something to eat after this. But all right, you know what? I want to end on one other thing I wanted to talk to you about is I know you get a lot of pushback actually from black people sometimes. Black people come at you like, as if like, you like, why are you talking about black people the way you talking about black people? Like I saw on Twitter one time, the girl's like, oh, it's Uncle Ruckus. They like to call you, they like to, it's like, just cause you're like, you have you want to live to a higher standard. And I realize this a lot about the upbringing of your dad, like the way your dad said, I don't care about all this that's going on. I'm going to rise up. So then there's an attitude. I feel like there's an attitude from you that's like, we could all do that. Let's not make excuses. So then you come hard at, it's translated as like you're being hard or you're being like, the way they say. But what's your response to that?
Well, my primary concern is black people. Because I'm black, that's my primary. It's not that I'm unconcerned about others, but that's my primary concern. And so how did the people that love me express their concern for me? When they saw me doing things that they thought were wrong, they told me. And
just not about the eating, obviously.
Well, no. My dad told me. I didn't listen. You don't have to listen to everything.
Yeah, I know.
But
hey,
again,
I'm right there.
But my dad didn't go run out to white neighborhoods and try to correct their kids. Neither did my mother. And so what you're hearing is someone expressing the kind of love that I received as a child growing up from both my parents, my grandmother, my brother and sister. And, we express love to each other by, hey, that's a great job, Jason. That's good what you did on the football field. But could you get your grades up? And my father was constantly on my ass about the way that I dressed and a bunch of other things that he thought were wrong that I was doing. He stayed in my ass about. And it's not because he hated me. It's because he actually loved me and wanted to see me do better than him. That was always the director from my parents. Do better. We done made a bunch of damn sacrifices. My mother was a factory worker. My father didn't graduate high school. You got to do better than us. And so I think if you look at white people who we like to compare ourselves to, white people have no problem criticizing each other. Yeah. None whatsoever. Go look at their behavior towards Donald Trump. They got no problem criticizing white people. We think there's something, if we don't criticize each other and blah, 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 and if we focus our energy on criticizing and fixing white people, that there's some special power in that and our lives are going to somehow be better. I just completely disagree with that.
Or if just because it's black, we have to be like, well, this is great.
Yeah. And then just the other,
I can't stand that.
Yeah, by just the job and the career I've chosen. I talk about football and basketball pretty much every day on the show. 70 to 75% of the athletes in those leagues are black. Just by that, I'm going to be talking about black people. But if you watch the show, I got no problem. If I think John Gruden is doing something stupid, Steve Kerr, any of these white people, they can get it too. And they do. But because I'm talking about sports dominated by black people,
it seems as if
you
only talking about black people. But I watch the show religiously, and yes, everybody gets it the same.
Including me.
Yeah.
Because if you really watch the show, Eric, have you seen how many times I clown myself?
I know.
Constantly.
I know.
And I'm telling real stories about myself a lot of times. And they're humorous and things, but there's truth in them.
The other day, I thought it was great that Marcellus corrected you on something, and you just immediately went like, you know what? Thank you for correcting me. I'm wrong. You're right.
Yes.
We'll be right back. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I was like, I was at home just like, good for you. Because it's just a rare thing that you see. But again, just to close it out, it's just like, I appreciate the thing that you've created on Speak for Yourself. I have on the shirt I stole when I was on the show. Speak for yourself. Antisocial. Shout out to Darnell. But I appreciate like the camaraderie that is being built on the show, because here's something that I don't want to call the dude out, but and I'm not even gonna say who it is, but it's a white comic friend of mine. You might know him. But this is one thing I don't appreciate it sometimes by people. They look at your show, and they might, if they're white, and they might be like, sometimes it gets it gets a little, they talk about black stuff a lot, and I just go, damn, you never say that about us. Like if it's Sports Center and it's like,
if it's Friends.
Yeah, right.
If it's, damn, all they do is white relationships.
You know what I mean? It's like, I always just
can't no black man get a taste of that?
The thing is, like, we were around the same age. It's like when I was coming up, I had to watch I'll never forget this argument I had with one of my white comic friends way back in the day, and he was just like, yeah, I don't watch Martin. I don't relate to it, he said. And I was like, you don't have to relate to it to find it funny. Like I watch
Genius. Oh my God.
Like I watch Friends, Seinfeld, I watch all these shows that are predominantly white, and I enjoy the shit out of them. I was on a show that was all white, and I'm mixed. You know what I'm saying? I was the color on the show. You know what I mean? So it's just weird that like. So I encourage people out there that don't be afraid of the black faces that you see on Speak for Yourself, and just like ignore that and just like hear the things that they're talking about. So it's amazing that. Here's something I want to. Sports, racism, and social prejudice and all these kind of things that go on in society, you could see it in sports and how long it takes for it to go away. So it's generational. So it was all white in the NBA. Then they let a few black players play. That took a long time. Now there's a lot of black players. Then they started letting people coach. And so now there's a lot of black coaches. Then they started letting black people be GMs, and then now there's one black owner.
Yeah.
Like we're 100 years away from where this is going to be completely gone. But sports is a great way to look at it. Sports is pure. It's an elitist system. It's just all about your performance.
It's a meritocracy.
It's a meritocracy, yes.
Not a perfect one, but it is
perfect,
but it is a meritocracy. But I will say this to the sweet spot, and again, to use this name in 2019 is hard to do because there's so much baggage with it. But the sweet spot we're trying to hit with Speak for Yourself is the same sweet spot the Cosby Show hit, the same sweet spot the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air hit,
right.
The same sweet spot that Oprah hit. Is you can be a black show, no question about it, and reach a mass audience.
Right.
And I think that whoever you heard that from, if they stick with the show, they're going to figure out the show is for everybody. Yes, it does primarily lean on black hosts and talkers, but the show is for everybody. And I think when you really look at what's successful on television for black people, it is the Cosby Show. It is the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It is what Oprah was in her heyday.
Even like Empire. You know, even Empire at a certain time was the most popular show on TV.
Yeah, I don't know if I would compare us to Empire though, because
you ain't Cookie.
Because
who's Cookie on that? Probably Steven Jackson. Steven Jackson be Cookie.
I'm not denigrating Empire. I'm just we're in two different lanes.
I'm just saying it was an all-black show. It was the most popular show on TV. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. But I get what you're saying.
But mostly what I'm saying,
that's you being hard again on black people.
No, that's what I'm saying is if you look at the people on our show, Marcellus, his wife and kids. Darnell, the young kid we have on, him and his fiance, Uncle Jimmy and his baby mamas. Just keep it.
Yeah, he could be on Family Feud with all his baby mamas. You know what I mean? All his baby mamas and him will be on Family Feud. We gotta.
What we're just trying to be is a reflection of how we really are, and I think. When the Fresh Prince and Cosby were on, people, oh my God, black people are doctors, they're lawyers like Uncle Phil, blah, blah, blah. And we proudly said, hell yeah, we are. And I think if you watch our show, you'll see every bit of Black America on that show. And it's like, yeah, that's who we are. And I think eventually that authenticity will cut through and it won't be offensive or won't put anyone off. So I love where our show is right now. And again, I hope that Joel Klatt or Mark Schlereth, the guy, Rick Bucher that come on, white guys that come on our show.
Great white guys that come on. Mark Schlereth is one of my favorites. Yeah. He's sensible dude.
Yeah. And so it's a show for everybody.
Yes, it is. You know what? We're going to close there. I mean, this has been Jason Whitlock. I appreciate you coming on. I want you to come on again in the future when other things are going on. Like I say, I think your show's great. I want you to continue it. I think you're a strong, powerful voice in sports journalism and just even journalism in general. I think, the show is a testament to your journey that you've gone through. And now you got... And it is in a great sweet spot, and I hope that it's growing and more people watch it. And you guys got to watch it on Fox Sports. Speak for Yourself every day, 12 p.m. Pacific time. So make sure you check that out. And this has been the great Jason Whitlock, and I appreciate you coming on, brother.
Thank you, Eric.
All right, y'all.